Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call to order the City of Homestead Community, is that the first item? Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. Today is Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. It is now 5:06 p.m. We have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Avila. Here. Board Member Ross.
Here.
Board Member Cannibal.
Here.
Board Member Konski.
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Bailey.
Here.
Chairman Losner.
Here. Mr. Director, do you have any deletions or deferrals for this evening's agenda?
No, Chairman, I do not.
Very well, thank you. We have under our first item of new business, tab 1, the approval of the minutes from October 22nd, 2025. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Board Member Roth.
Can't hear you. Second.
Second by Vice Chair Bailey. Forgive me if I say Fletcher. It's muscle memory. Because I may have called him Faircloth once or twice, or Guzman. I don't know. All right. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is CAR 4817, and this is a previously discussed item, the mural installation at the Chrome Marketplace. Mr. Director?
That is correct. And following up on the workshop that we had done with City Council, there were a few items that the Council had suggested that the CRA consider making modifications to in the revised version of the mural before coming to you all today. The ask of you all today is to formally approve the CRA to proceed with installation of a mural on Chrome Marketplace, which is our building. And what I'd like to do is just show briefly the kind of changes that were made to the mural based on the input received from council. The notable changes were the replacement of a couple of items within the letters to be changed with a sunflower, with a flag, a soccer ball, and then also a request to change the type of planes, which are shown in the letter D. We did also modify this to say greetings from the City of Homestead and the location of the 1913. One of the other requests for this was to push it further towards the alley to leave more room between the Chrome Avenue frontage and the middle of the building. We've discussed that with the artist. This image doesn't quite depict that, but that is something we know has to be finalized before we proceed. What I would like to also just share with you all is an example of, or rather a depiction, the current version as well as the prior version, which I believe a couple of you had asked on during our briefing. So if you look at the top version, that was the initial concept that was presented to you as the City Council. The bottom is the current version that we have with the requested changes. So certainly glad to take any other input or comments that you all have, but the ask again is to approve the CRA proceeding with this mural installation.
Hey, thank you. Any initial questions or comments from the board? I know the Vice Chair is ready to chime in.
Thank you, Chairman. I love the changes. I think that is a great representation. I am excited to see that happening in downtown. I'm excited that it's a local artist, so thank you so very much for making that happen. I did have a request to look into, as we're working through this mural, the owners of La Patrona, who are moving into they're moving into that warehouse type building. They are ready to submit a mural for our consideration. So I just wanted to share with staff if that was potentially something that would work a little faster going through the process now that this one is happening. I know that they have an artist and a rendering. So I will, if I can give you his information, I know you have it, but if we can follow up with him and see if that could happen as well, then we've got some multiple murals to look forward to.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Board Member Avila?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to thank the artist for including the sunflowers. I appreciate that. And overall, I love the new look. If I could just ask for them to maybe fill in more of the O in the Homestead to showcase the sunflower in its entirety versus having the space in the middle of the O kind of cutting it out. So whatever they can do to make it more prominent. I don't think it needs to come back for approval. After that, I'll trust the artist's rendering. Thank you.
Remember Roth, anything further? We're not accountable? Couple of quick observations. I think we need to capitalize the word city. It doesn't appear to be capitalized in the bottom version. Yeah, it's on it was on our screens, yeah. It doesn't appear that the word city is capitalized. It is in the book, in our briefing book, but not on the presentation.
If you look at your screen right now, we inserted the full page images. The one on the right is a revised one, and that was one that we had caught and want to make sure it's corrected.
Right, and I had raised this issue in the briefing, and I appreciate the old versus the new. The new version seems to be a little dark in the background versus the old, going to the right. Is that the reproduction, or is it intentional? If you look at, where the depiction of the windows are at the top, that's a break point there. It seems to be really kind of dark, and as you're going north, that's the first thing you would see. Is there a rationale behind that?
I think that there was an initial ask during the council workshop to perhaps do more of a transition at the very end of the wall facing Chrome Avenue to sort of blend with the gray on the building across the street. I do agree, though, I think this has lost some of that color, and certainly given the visibility that segment of the windows has when you are going north on Chrome, we likely do want to go back to a little bit more of the vibrancy that we'd seen in that first one.
Right, so I guess implicit in the approval was more of the light of the original background with the other changes in the spelling out of Homestead and the capitalization and the adding city and established 1913. It just really seemed kind of brooding for that location. Board member?
Thank you, Chair. And I did mention during our briefings, but just in case we need to clarify here, if there is an electrical outlet above the mural to add some lighting for the residents to enjoy at night, that'd be great.
And we have had, and we'll be having a further meeting, but have talked with the electrician that we work with at actually doing some downlights off the top of the building to profile that.
All right. So are you looking for a formal director from us, or just a tacit nodding of the head to go forward?
No, we are looking for a formal directive by the CRA board for the CRA staff to proceed with the procurement and installation of the mural, with the noted comments that the O will be modified to include a larger sunflower, and that we will revert back to the lighter background and ensure the C in city is capitalized.
All right. Would anyone like to make that motion? Vice Chair Bailey makes the motion. Second by Board Member Cannibal. Board Member Avila? Okay, sure.
Are the funds for this coming from Arts and Public Places under CRA? Yes? Okay. All right, thank you.
That was what, like $38,000?
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
if I may, if you look at the package, it says $30,000 as fiscal impact based on the recommendation to add the downlighting or uplighting. That budget may change a little bit. Okay.
Okay. And, so that we don't have to see this again, do we need to build in that automatic escalator as we do in other procurement items, just so?
I would suggest for this, the ask is specifically to fund or approve the CRA with procuring the mural, using Art and Public Places funds for that. I would suggest that be the approval, and in terms of the additional lighting that we do, that's something the CRA can do just as an addition to this.
The routine maintenance and repair of the CRA building as owned now.
Correct.
I mean, it would seem that there should be electrical in that wall behind the mural.
Right.
Okay, so yes.
Thank you, Chair. The reason for it going to dark was because of there being potential doors or other entrances. So I agree also, I would rather see the more sunset, but is that not an issue if there would be another exterior door that needed to be built in there? The artist could just touch up around that door.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that to be an issue. And again, I should have added this in the final comments of your approval. We had asked for this to push a little further towards the alley, so there would also be more room, just in case there were some alterations in that facade. I think though we'll do that, and any other changes that we make to the facade with the future tenant, we'll do touch-ups accordingly.
Yeah, I think it's worth it to have that whole wall and deal with those touch-ups if it comes.
Deal with a potential user and modifications later. We'll just go forward.
Okay.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to provide the approval of the commissioning of and payment of this item. Anything further? All right. So do we need a roll call on this, or we can just do a voice? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Then moving on to tab 2. No, I'm sorry, tab 3. The commercial enhancement grant for 406 North Chrome Avenue. Mr. Director.
Good afternoon. This will be our first commercial enhancement grant application of the fiscal year. We are certainly, oops, let me go ahead and fast forward for a bit. We are prioritizing some of the commercial enhancement along Chrome Avenue and Washington Avenue. This is the first one that we will be proceeding with. The property owner will be making a variety of improvements, including a resurfacing of the parking lot, striping, ADA access, power washing the buildings, repainting, a new roof, landscape, and rescreening or repair of the dumpster enclosures. Our commercial enhancement grant, as you all know, funds up to $25,000 on qualified improvements, and that requires for this location a minimum of a 10% match, meaning a property owner could spend $75,000 on a project. We will only reimburse up to that 25%. Or 25,000 rather. The reimbursement is one other point just for folks to know is that when we do begin to accept an application, we do require multiple quotes on the different types of things that they may be doing. And then we understand that as we go through this process, they may expand their scope, they may get different quotes, that may change. That's more of a formality of us to begin with, but we do not release any funds until after the work has been completed, the permits have been closed out, and that we review all of those receipts to ensure that they are a part of the eligible expenses which we as the CRA will reimburse for. And what I'm showing you now is not a rendering of the completed product. What I am showing you, though, is a rendering of the landscape element of this. The ask from the CRA to anyone that we are discussing these grants with is that we invest in those physical improvements that will be seen from the street. And so as a part of that, we have asked for a variety of trees, a minimum 6 and 8 feet at installation, ground cover shrubs, other aspects like that. Staff is going to recommend that there be an approval of the up to $25,000 for this project, knowing there's some other work that they will be doing. And with the reimbursable expenses that we will provide funding to, assuming that they are making the match, will be for the repainting of the exterior, will be for the landscape, parking lot improvements, as well as the dumpster improvements and enclosure. So that is the overall view of what we would like to present tonight and request an approval for. I do believe that a representative of the property owner is also here if there are questions from the board. But with that, I'll go ahead and open for any questions or discussion.
Thank you, board members. Questions, comments? I do have a couple, and I've shared these previously with, excuse me, the CRA director. Is the applicant or their representative present, available to come to the podium?
Alanka or Mr. Patwary, would you mind just coming up for a moment?
Hi, good to see you all. And if you could, just give us your name and address for the record.
Okay, my name is Kamal Patwari. I come from the 406 North Chrome Avenue.
Okay. Ma'am?
I'm just assisting him, Alanka Kristen.
Okay, thank you. All right, couple of questions I had, and this is a really good start. This has been one of those properties at the entrance to the downtown that I've been concerned about for many years. And I will say, I'm thankful that, these repairs and improvements are going forward, but I wanted to ask you about your willingness to go ahead and make some additional improvements that I feel would really round this out. The first would be the removal of the security bars from the front of the building. Over several years, we've all had discussions about, bars on windows create the perception of crime, and a perception then becomes reality. Not asking about the rear of the building, but would you be, because I see in the proposal it includes the painting and repair of the building and the bars on the windows. Would you be willing to consider to remove the bars on the east and southerly exposure, if any, on the building?
Okay, sir. We can take out and can put the inside, because before I put this, somebody broke the window nighttime and go inside the store. They took the money and instant ticket lotto. Then we put the bar. So if you give the permission, I take out the outside and I put the inside the behind the glass.
Well, assuming you can meet code with that, and I would like to see that as part of this approval. My second item is that the fenced enclosure to the rear of the building, we've recently adopted for other areas a specific type of screening for chain link type fence, kind of, the weaving of the flexible plastic composite strips through the chain link to kind of conceal whatever's back in there. Not asking you to remove the existing chain link, but to install that slat screening in the back, not around your parking lot, not the other piece of property, but the chain link area at the back of the building, the smaller area.
Okay, we do it, no problem.
Okay.
Oh.
And then finally, in terms of lighting, I mean, clearly, and I went by there last night, the light level in this parking lot does not meet the county codes that we are obligated to enforce. And I'll say that from where I sit, the county goes way too far. They're asking for way too much light. But you're going to need to do lighting. And rather than have wall-mounted packs that would spill garish light out into Chrome Avenue, is there anywhere in the front or out at the corner, maybe where a pole could be installed with the light aimed at the building so that it doesn't glare and spill out into Chrome Avenue? You're going to have to do some lighting to be compliant here. And speaking for myself, I'm big on aesthetics, and there's some buildings further north on Chrome that have installed the light packs in connection with their 30 or 40-year certification, and it's, for my taste, pretty unsightly. So I'd like you to consider going ahead and to the extent you have to do new lighting, not have it facing the street, but have it out at the street facing your building and parking lot, however you can accomplish that.
We'll do it.
Okay, thank you. I want to ask you one more thing, though, because I saw some real dichotomy here in this package. Did anybody at the city or the CRA recommend any vendors or suggest anybody or steer you in any direction of any of the vendors here?
No.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Let me tell you why. You've got a painting proposal that's a handwritten estimate. Maybe somebody works out of their home. And your landscaping proposal is from probably the most expensive landscaper in South Florida. And I just, who the city also happens to do business with. So I was just curious as to whether or not anyone at the city is steering you in any given direction. And what struck me was, the difference in the, and I don't mean this in a bad way, the notoriety of the two proposals. That's all I needed to know. No one No one suggested, no one went out and got these bids. You did this on your own?
No.
Yes.
So I helped Mr. Patry get the proposals. We just ended up with the three that actually answered the phone, that were local. We wanted to stay within the city, to employ vendors within the city, and those were the three that answered and came out to the property to take a look.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. There's a big difference between landscapers and painters, but it just kind of struck me as kind of interesting. So then I think what we've got here is their agreement to include the lighting, the chain link screening at the back of the building, which I think probably you refer to as the dumpster enclosure.
Correct.
Which is far more than that. And then the removal of the exterior bars for the front and side exposure.
Sorry, another question.
Yes.
Is there any extra funding for the great suggestions that you brought up, or is that part of the full?
Well,
scope
to
that
see
we were
what you
offering?
could do within the confines of that funding.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, if we don't do that, we're only going part way. We're not really
Understood.
arriving at the vision that we want for the streetscape.
Okay, so that'll be on the top of our
Yeah,
priority.
that would be in addition.
Okay.
You've got to do lighting anyway. I don't know what the difference would be between wall-mounted light packs versus something, an electric, and not a street light type pole, but, whatever's economical to face the light back toward the parking lot in the building rather than across the parking lot out into the street.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor?
Board member, yes, Board member Roth?
Just to piggyback on that, the example that he gave for removing the bars and then reinstalling them on the inside, and that would have to be a code issue, which I don't know if that's even possible to do. Maybe Development Service can tell us that now. And then to cover up, to go on further was maybe we could find a little extra money if he would install the impact windows on the front of the building, which would add the aesthetics to it versus creating some kind of an issue from the inside. Although
Right.
they can smash the windows, but they won't be able to get
They
into the
can't go
property.
through. And that would have always been my preference.
Yeah.
But, they've seemed, with the work that's being done, they seem to have met the limit of the whole 25.
Right,
So, the happy median would be remove the bars, but I agree, that's, as I said, it's a code issue.
right. Because I think you explained that somebody did kick in your windows and they got into your store and stole the money, and that's why you put the bars up to help protect from that
Several
happening
times, you
again,
said.
right?
Yeah.
So, and I respect that, and we're all here trying to create the same aesthetic beauty along Chrome as you enter the downtown area. So I'd be willing to hear more about some of that, and maybe even if we have the ability to increase it a little bit to help with the installation of the impact windows, which I think would be beneficial for all of us. That's all.
Are there other complementary sources, perhaps?
At the time, the current time, there is not. There are a couple of paths forward if you wanted to proceed with that route. We do have a waiting period from the time that a grantee is awarded a grant to potentially receiving an additional grant. So you could look at a phased approach if you wanted to. And I believe that you have the discretion as the CRA board to make a determination if you did choose to go beyond that amount, the 25,000. I would be very cautious in terms of what type of a precedent that sets, but I think that is an ability that you all have. There is no other grant program, though, that we have at this time that would be an additional layer to add into this.
I'd be willing to entertain, if we can go forward with their commitment with what we've talked about, and if necessary, come back to us to amend this approval after we've looked at code issues on the inside versus the cost of the installation of impact windows.
Then perhaps what we would do, Chair, is to keep this process moving efficiently. Then I would recommend that you proceed with the modifications that have been proposed, which is the removal, assuming it can be done by code, of the bars to the interior, the parking lot lighting, the screening as you had for the rear of the property, at which time in which those permits are closed, and we have satisfied that, which would help keep us on a schedule, then we could come back for that second part to you all, show you the work that's been done at that point, and then you could make the determination if you choose.
Oh, and yeah, and I appreciate that. It would stand to reason that if the life safety codes allow those types of bars on the outsides of the windows, why couldn't they be moved on the inside? You're trapped, whether it's from the inside or the outside. All right, so I'm okay with your suggestion.
Okay, so the suggestion then would be that we are approving the grant as
With
submitted.
these changes.
With these changes, and then we will, you as a board reserve the opportunity to waive that duration, 2-year waiting period for this grant to come back, to consider the installation of impact windows and doors.
Okay, so I think we have a motion. Don't we have a motion on the floor?
I'll make the
Yes.
motion, and thank you very much for doing this. You know, not only is it one of the first buildings that you see coming into downtown, it has such potential. It just reminds me of the old Homestead stucco type buildings. It's I don't know if you recognize me. I usually come in less fancy, but that's my neighborhood, you know, come to pick up something quickly. So the landscaping, it's gonna make such a big difference for the corner. So thank you for doing that, and I would also love to see if we could make the impact windows happen. And don't underestimate with better lighting, less crime is then usually following suit. So thanks again.
All right, so you want to make the motion that it's inclusive of all of our discussion? Yes, Board Member Avila?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to just clarify, because I do see in the work proposals that there is a roof replacement line item. You understand that that's not covered with the grant, correct? Okay, it's just to make 100% sure. Okay, thank you. I do second the
Thank you.
motion.
Board Member Konski, anything to add? Any comment? No? Okay, that's fine. You kind of looked tentative down there. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't moving too quickly. All right, so I think we have a motion and a second on this. If there are no further comments, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all. Look forward to the improvements. Thank you. Right. Mr. Director, anything further for this meeting?
I would make one quick comment following on the Vice Chair's remarks about La Patrona Bakery. That is one that some of you recall we gave a substantial grant to a while back to purchase, or following their purchase of a warehouse, to do a major rehabilitation of it into creating a second retail bakery, but also production bakery. And we are very happy that they are working with their TCO. They are doing their temporary baking and testing right now. They wanted to run through that before we have some type of a celebration and grand opening for them. But we did want you to know that that one's proceeded. And I do want to appreciate the importance of that one, because it's not just a retail bakery, but this is creating a greater enterprise for that organization. Their baked goods are starting to be shelved in one of the grocery stores, and they have been made aware that through the good work that they're doing and the customer base that they have an opportunity to start expanding their baked goods throughout numerous grocery stores and really growing this into something that is truly a local business that is flourishing. So that is just a quick update and certainly an appreciation for the consideration this board gave in the grant agreement.
Thank you. I don't think you were with us when we approved this, but you know, the representations were made that their products are already stocked on shelves as far north as Palm Beach.
Yeah.
They say "Made in Homestead"
Yeah.
right on the package, and I'm glad we're able to help promote that.
So that is all I have. There are no other updates.
All right. Anything
board.
further from this board with respect to any CRA matters? The agenda script also calls for any public comments at this time prior to the adjournment of the CRA. Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn this Community Redevelopment Agency meeting? Moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye. And in just a moment, we will move into the very short committee of the whole agenda. It's just a couple of minutes.